Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes? Matt here from YoVideogames. If you've been following my channel, you know I'm a huge fan of the Xenoblade series. But if you're new to the series, or new to RPGs in general, or looking to reignite your passion for the genre, then allow me to introduce you to the game that rekindled the fire for me and many others and enjoy my retrospective review of Xenoblade Definitive Edition. Monolith Soft is no stranger to making RPGs. The company has been around for over 20 years. However, its first 6 would be spent with Namco. And before even that, the company was founded by former Squaresoft employees. One of the best things about Xenoblade as a series is that it is the culmination of years of work and learning from past failures. Xenoblade it is a series that took what worked with past RPGs and throwing out everything that didn't. It is a game with a large ensemble cast, lots of emotional cutscenes, but put in a massive explorable world with tons of loot, side questing, and secrets, and a lot of good quality of life mechanics to make it nice and breezy to get around in. Let me emphasize one of those points again. Yes, this is a Japanese RPG, and the emotional core and feelings of the characters are front and center. There's a wonderful earnesty to the characters, and not only the story that's happening, but also in the small moments where they will stop and admire the world they're living in and discovering it for the first time with the player. This tends to be a big reason why I enjoy RPGs, or JRPGs, as it's not only are they typically more colorful with their world design, but they tend not to smolder with generic rage to the point where the main character feels annoyed to be in his own game. Also, they go for some wild-ass sci-fi shit that even when it doesn't hit, it's quite a giant swing for the fences. To be honest though, all of the Xenoblade Definitive is a giant swing. There's a whole other video to be made on the behind the scenes of this title, but basically this is a game where the company picked itself up from past failures, dusted itself off, and learned from its past mistakes and took a giant swing again, and boy did it hit a home run this time. Xenoblade Definitive starts with a somewhat easy to understand action-packed narrative, humans versus machines in an ongoing war that hit a recent ceasefire, or so you think, until early in the game that gets that rivalry going again. Even in the earliest moments of the game, you might think you're playing a typical JRPG being corridor towards a destination, but then almost immediately it opens up to a big-ass area letting you explore at leisure and all around your hometown, and you quickly realize the enemy levels go all over the place, meaning you will have a reason to revisit spots even in the opening area when you're high level. This trend continues for the rest of the game. The simplest way to describe the actual fighting in Xenoblade Definitive is it's like an MMORPG. It's not entirely accurate, but you auto-attack and you initiate special attacks that have a cooldown after using them. Sometimes they do more damage on certain positions, like behind an enemy, and some are meant to be used in a sequence. It's pretty self-explanatory, and you can generally just follow the levels and equipment stats and be fine for most of the game. And if you really don't feel like grinding shit out, you can always instantly drop it to easy and just enjoy the world and then swap it back anytime. Seriously, it won't make your dick any bigger if you play the game on hard mode the whole time. Just enjoy it however you want. What works still? The scale, the art, the environments, and of course, the music. Despite this being based on a Wii game that's over a decade old, the scale and size of the environments is still breathtaking. Monolith Soft came out of their dark years as map-making wizards, and this was a game that set that precedent. Sure, it's not intricately detailed like a Horizon game, but it more than makes up for it with just smart design. Enemy placement is particularly well thought out, and there's a flow and ecosystem to the way the creatures roam the lands. The big fat fucking cherry on top of all this is the music by Yoko Shimomura, Ace Plus, and Manami Kiyota. 4 of these composers would stick with the series all the way till the end, and they breathe life and memory into the world of the game, proving once again that music is integral to the gaming experience. Ambience can go fucking die in the 9th circle of hell. Every area in this game has a musical motif that ties to it and adds to its character. It also helps that the music is also just really fucking good and pretty well varied, all things considered. The story is easy to follow, but also has some real twists and turns. Some you'll see coming a mile and a half away, and others will be real what the fuck moments. The important thing is to just enjoy the beginning of Mr. Takahashi's wild ride. What doesn't work? The battle system is perfectly serviceable, but it's a bit basic. The biggest problems come from the fact that you have to manually scroll left and right across a horizontal bar to initiate special attacks. This becomes a little annoying, having to manually shift your left thumb from moving your character with the left analog stick to pressing left and right on the D-pad constant. You can kind of overcome this by manually changing the button configuration on the main Switch hardware menu, but it's not a perfect solution. Also, being originally a Wii game, the AI is flat out dumb and makes setting up multi-step attacks such as the series' staple combo of break to topple to daze much harder than it needs to be, as the AI companions almost always just burn through their moves the minute they're available to use. The battle system can be summed up as pretty much a race to DPS, or damage per second. It works, it's not bad, but later games really improved on pretty much everything here. The other thing that doesn't work quite as well as the other games is the story. It starts off very strong and has a real cool ending, but don't get me wrong. But for a game with a large ensemble cast, most of them are kind of just along for the ride. The game is focused, laser pointed directly at and about Shulk and his big red sword. The other characters get plenty of time to shine and all have great and memorable moments, but the crux of the plot always leads back to the main character. I think this might be a strange appeal to some who still cling to this as their favorite entry and their favorite story, but I really appreciate the stronger cast narrative of later entries myself. Also, the villains follow a similar trajectory in that the early cast of assholes is fantastic, but once you start moving on to the real enemies, well, they're pretty boring in comparison. Luckily though, it's still thoroughly entertaining till the end and more than well worth seeing the journey through. In the end, Xenoblade Definitive is a groundbreaking entry into the genre, and the perfect starting point to dive into the madness that is the series as a whole. It stands perfectly well on its own and as its own entry, but it is also a door to a much larger universe waiting to be explored. It's still an incredible and beautiful journey well worth taking. Just don't try doing every side quest, as most of them in the first entry are mad basic. Just take the game at your own preferred pace and difficulty, whether that's pushing the story forward constantly or exploring every nook and cranny in this game's vast world. Either way, this is the best version to experience the beginning of the world, Takahashi's brave new world of JRPG excellent. I give this game a personal score of 9. And that is my retrospective review of the first Xenoblade game, specifically Definitive Edition. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you on the channel. Later, dudes.